Today we are working on Excel Lesson 3 using statistical function. So this is what you should have opened up. First step says save the workbook as My Weekly Expense Report in your My Projects folder. So click File, Save As, go to your My Projects folder and make it say My Weekly Expense Report. I'm just going to backspace over that. I'm going to click before this and type My Weekly Expense Report. It's in My Projects folder, so then click Save. Mark that as answered. Go to the next one. Use the standard sum function to calculate the subtotal values in column C. So select cell C6, and then on the Home tab in the Editing group, click Auto Sum. Verify that only C5, you can see that that's the only cell that's selected as the argument, and press Enter. Select cell C9, and then on the Home tab, click Auto Sum. Verify that C8 is the only one that's selected. Press Enter. Mark that as answered. Go to the next one. Select cell C13, and then on the Home tab in the Editing group, click Auto Sum. Verify that both expense values in the cells above are selected, which you see that they both are, and press Enter. Repeat either previous step depending on whether there is one or two values to add together for each of the remaining subtotal cells in C17. So C17, Auto Sum, Enter. C21, Auto Sum, Enter. C24, Auto Sum, Enter. E6, Auto Sum and Enter. E9, feel like I'm calling out bingo. Bingo. E13, Auto Sum, bingo. E17, Auto Sum, Enter. E21. And you should be checking these, verifying that it's only highlighting the cells right above them. And then finally E24, Auto Sum and Enter. So you should have, you can check yours numbers with mine or yours, and they should equal what that picture looks like. So mark that as answered. Go to the next step. Up to this point, both columns C and E have been identical. The subtotal values have been calculated for each travel office. You will now try to calculate the grand total for all offices. To do this, you will deliberately create an incorrect grand total for column C, which you will use for comparative purposes. So select cell C25, and then on the Home tab in the Editing group, click Auto Sum. Select cells C5 to C24. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to drag it up to C5 and press Enter. And the reason this is incorrect is it's added using every number in these. The reality is we would only want to add these subtotals and not everything else. So that's why it's incorrect, and I guess we will confirm that later. So mark that as answered. Go to the next one. Enter the following formulas. C26. We're doing an average formula. So I'm going to be lazy, and I'm going to Control C, Control V, and copy it. And you can see there's your formula up here in the formula bar. Average it, so it's averaging all of these cells. C27, we're counting the cells. Maybe easier to type this. Control C, I wonder if it's marking them off because the font's different. I don't think that that's going to matter. I'm changing it back to Calibri in case it does. Highest, we'll type this equals MAX parentheses C5 colon C24 in parentheses. Lowest, that's minimum, MIN C5 C24. Enter two more formulas to count the number of cells containing text, which is the names of travel directors and the number of cells without any data in column B. So in B30, we're going to make sure you click in B30, equals count A parentheses B5 to B24, and you can see that it highlights those cells. Press enter, and what it did is it counted how many times you had a name. So Gibson 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that's correct. So now we're going to count the blank cells. So in B31 equals count blank parentheses B5 colon B24 in parentheses. So it counted all the blanks in those cells. Mark that as answered. Go to the next one. Now enter the correct formulas for column E. The grand total of sum of all of these calculates based only on the subtotal values. So select cell E25, and then on the Home tab in the Editing group, click Auto Sum. So now we have to select cell E6, hold down the Control key and click cell E9, E13, E17, E21, and E24, because we only want to add these subtotals, and then press enter. Notice the grand total in column E is half the grand total in column C. This demonstrates that the latter value is double counting everything in column C. So like I said before, it was counting everything and we only want it to count the subtotals. So mark that as answered. Go to the next one. Now calculate the average weekly expense for all employees using the Auto Sum button in the ribbon. Select cell E26. And then on the Home tab in the Editing group, click the arrow next to Auto Sum, so this arrow right here, and click Average to select that function. Select cell E5, hold down the Control key, and then click on E8, E8, E11, E12, E15, E16, E19, E20, and E23. Release the Control key and press enter. Note that the cells in this average function are not the same as the sum function above. The average is calculated using each individual person's expense amount, not the subtotal for the office, and that's what we wanted to do. Enter the rest of the summary formulas either by entering the full formula or by using the mouse to select the cells. So E27, we're going to type equals count, parentheses. Now you can type these or you can select them. I'm going to select them. So select E5, holding down the control key, E8, 11, 12, 15, 16, 19, 20, and 23. Press enter. And you can see that there's your formula right there, which is the same as this formula. And E28 equals max, parentheses. I'm going to do the same thing. E5, 8, 11, 12, 15, 16, 19, 20, 23. Press enter. And so basically what it's doing, if you were to look up here, your highest number is 287.92. That's the highest number of those you just selected. E29, we're doing the minimum. So this is going to find the lowest number in those cells. So holding down the control key, 5, 8, 11, 12, 15, 16, 19, 20, and 23. Press enter. And 8254, there's your lowest number. As you can see, entering the sum, average, count, maximum, and minimum functions was painful, tedious, error-prone because you had to individually pick each of the subtotal numbers in the column. Experienced Excel users would know that step 3 could have been accomplished more easily by converting the cell references in the average column to absolute cell references. You can then copy this formula from cell E26 to these cells and just change the function name. Absolute cell references are covered later in this section. So, mark as answered. Submit. Submit results. And hopefully you have 7 green checks, and this completes using statistical function.